Oh,
There you
cool. Just
go.
like Ken's.
Mhm.
All righty. Okay. I put up a list of questions and like I said, I'll try to keep this short. I know that you guys are busy. And um, so if you don't mind, I'm just kind of curious, how you guys started. If you did it through Ken's website or just how did you get it going?
You want to answer, Tom?
Well, I'll share my recollection.
Yeah. There may be different versions.
Yeah, yeah. So you'll get to hear. But my recollection is we both joined the True Storytelling Circle in 2020. I think it was around November timeframe. And Joe and I, by coincidence, had been in the same day trading class virtually that Ken had in September of 2019. And so we had talked a little bit about that. And then one of us reached out in 2021 to just kind of January timeframe to say, well, would you be interested in having a phone call and sharing things? And then we started talking and then it just kind of grew from there.
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah, that's kind of how I remember it.
Was it strictly on the day trading? Were you concentrating on that, the course itself, or any personal investing?
Yeah, we started sharing. I mean, when we first started working together, we were not. I don't think either of us looked at ourselves as traders. We were struggling traders, and we were sharing charts because we didn't know what else to do. But it's really grown from that. Where I don't even remember the last time. There was a point where we were actually meeting every day and going over all of our trades. But now it's grown into just more bigger picture mindset, strategy, risk management, just to have a space to go to and share. And one thing I'll say about accountability is just in general is that before I met Tom, I reached out to a lot of different people, and to find a good accountability partner, I'm going to be honest, is not easy. Because a lot of people say they're going to do something and then they don't. And I'm very serious about it. And it turns out that Tom is as well. But yeah, just finding it's almost like cold calling. I met a lot of different people, and I happen to resonate because you have to have a commitment. You also have to have a working relationship, personality, trust. There's so many different factors to go into just meeting someone over Zoom. But once you land someone, it's super convenient because it doesn't cost anything. It's on Zoom, and it's always we keep showing up because it's beneficial on both sides. So just I'm a huge a proponent of accountability partner, and just our growth. Actually, we were talking about it on Saturday, right, Tom? That like where we were when we started and where we are now with our trading, and it's just you know it's and there's times that it's ugly. There's times that I'll be honest, Tom, that I didn't feel like showing up to the calls because like, oh, I have to tell Tom what I did. Like, oh no, I don't want to do that. But that's part of it, you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
How often do you guys meet?
Well, as Joe said, we met sometimes, and we
Daily.
actually kind of back in January, Ken put out this bar by bar experiment that's in the creativity course, and so we were meeting daily, and we were going over, and we were kind of going back through the day's trades and going through it bar by bar together. Um, my trading Joe's system, Joe trading my system, and time frames, and so we did that for probably 3 to 4 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've also, as we've stepped back to bigger picture, and we both had different travel schedules later this year, it may be every couple of weeks or something like that. But I think we strive to get when our schedules allow to meet weekly.
Yeah. Yeah. We kind of picked a time before we meet on Saturday with Ken. That's kind of our standard time. But you know, with the travel schedule, it's not consistent. But we aim to meet once a week if we can. And sometimes, like last week, we met. When was it? Thursday we met, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Has the time zone been an issue for you guys?
I'm sure it was for Tom. He gets up early. I don't know how he does it. Not for me.
Well, I used to get up to go irrigating with my grandfather about 5:30. So I still get up at 5:30 in the morning. And
Wow.
so it works, like today.
Yeah, I was afraid I was going to be the one that was going to be the problem, but well, I was wondering, do you feel like you've been able to use each other's strengths? You know, have you guys offset any weaknesses that the other have and things like that? Has that worked out all right?
Yes. Yeah, I love Joe's just very clear, very direct, and his reflections back to me. Well, it sounds like you're thinking you know what the market's going to do, and how foolish can that be? So he's able to reflect very clearly back to me what he's hearing, and be able to share. Okay, so here's how he's thinking about what professional trading looks like, and where he sees that I'm moving closer to that, where he sees that no, I'm off in my own mind making my own story up, and to justify, in my words, to justify how I'm acting, which may not be following the rules from Ken. We've also, I think one of the things that's made it work well for us, we've both looked at a lot of different things, and now we're really working on refining the system that works for each of us, and how, which is more about self-management, and then coming in using the tools that work for ourselves in this. So that's been a real pleasure, because we spent a lot of time about tools and techniques, and now it's back to, as Joe said earlier, how am I being in this? Am I coming in with a story, or am I coming in with curiosity about what is maybe going to happen today, and then being able to trade with the flow of the day?
Yeah. And you know what, that's one of the things that I will say about Tom is that Tom's a coach, right? So I kind of learned that from him. So when we come to these calls, we don't want to be told what to do. Like, we're not giving each other advice. And Tom really showed me, like, one of the things he says, well, what I'm hearing, or it sounds like, or instead of, well, I think you should do this, right? So it's more like, well, this is what you just told me, you know, what do you think about that? So just kind of like being there, where as a coach, and I didn't have any experience in that, but Tom's questions, I copied Tom's questions. So just because I know how he made me feel when I said something, and then he would answer a question, and then I would go off for another 5 minutes, and then we would just allow each other. There was really no advice. You know, we say, I noticed this, or have you thought about this? But it was never like, you should do it this way or that way. It was just more of an opportunity, an environment where you could vocalize what you're thinking. And how many times did I tell you, Tom, like, you know what? Until this week, I've been struggling, and I didn't know what I was struggling, and now I know. You know, so it was just kind of that self-discovery of what's happening. Having a partner that's not telling you what to do, but just kind of almost like playing tennis, like kind of like hitting the ball back and forth, and the way we would do it is one of us would go. Usually one of us would come fired up. I guess something I got to, okay, you know, all right, Tom, you go first. Tom, I got to go first today. I guess, and I would, you know, whatever, 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, as long as it took. And we would stay with that one person for that whole time without interruptions. And then I would be like, all right, that's enough for me, Tom. All right, what's going on with you? So that's kind of how we ran it. It seemed to work for us.
Do you think that has your meetings, do they have a structure to them? I mean, how do you do that whenever you're trying to both of you have a thought at the same time? Do you have anything that you worked out where you guys have a way of doing something? I know that Ken passes the stick, you know, and I didn't know if you guys have a structure to your meetings.
We don't have an official stick, but we would stay with that person until that person would yield to the other person. And like, you know, we would not put in our own kind of bring on our own problems when the other person is going through their stuff. Yeah.
And what about your trading styles? Is that do you guys feel like you're close to the same kind of a style, or do you have different styles, and does that mesh or have a conflict or anything like that?
I would say our styles are very different, and that's what makes it great. Is that you'll find out that the trading styles have nothing to do with what we're talking about. It's the same. We started there, but the same emotions and thoughts and mental struggle. What it comes back to is what we end up talking about every single day is mastery of self. That's really what it boils down to. So that's where we've landed, and I think we're going to have a lot of work to do. So we'll be there for a while. At least I will.
Yeah. I'd add, I mean, I think, and maybe it's useful if we provided a little bit of description of what each of us does.
Yeah.
But I mean, we do trade different markets. We use different instruments to trade those markets on different time frames, and maybe some of the similarity is we have the common language from all the things we've learned from Ken. And I think the true storytelling methodology we've kind of roughly adopted in letting each other tell the story of what's going on for them, and then asking questions or offering reflections that help us think about ourselves and what we're doing.
Yeah.
Just if you guys were to start it again, do you think you would do it differently, or are you pretty comfortable with the way that you started it and the way that it has evolved? May not be the best question, but
No.
Well, it's a great question.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Joe.
No, it's a great question, and that's why I had to think about it. I don't know if you have a choice, because you have two people that are coming together that don't know much about each other, and it's going to go how it's going to go. So I mean, the beauty of it is we had no structure. The beauty of it is it went however it went, and whatever was needed at the time is what we talked about, and the direction that it went. So I don't know if there's and I have several accountability partners. I'm just trying to think through, for your benefit. Is there? No, I mean, in every case, it's just, it starts somewhere and you go one direction, and then you go a different direction, and then you land on something, you do that for a while, and then you change. So I don't know. That's kind of my experience, just in general, with accountability partners.
Yeah, and I'd say it's kind of like entering a trade. You have no idea where it's going.
Yeah, right.
And you get to decide, do you want to get out, or do you want to continue on, or do you change course and change the topic and stay with the accountability partner? And I think the critical thing is it valuable for both?
Yeah.
And are we having fun doing it? I mean, we laugh a lot, and that makes a world of difference, because when we can begin to laugh at ourselves and the situations and how I'm not making sense of things frequently, that's helpful.
And that's so key to be fun, is because, there's things that I discuss with Tom that there's no other human on this planet that I discuss with. So, and it's uncomfortable. But again, that's where the growth comes from. So it's got to be, so there's already that kind of like dreadiness of just going there. So it has to be, at least you have to like your partner and realize you're getting something out of it and have fun. Because even if you're getting something out of it, but you're not having fun, probably you'll stop showing up at some point. Right.
And I'd echo this. I mean, I've been able to talk to Joe about some of my experiences trading, and that which has enabled me to begin to share a little bit more in the broader tortoise community of things that I wouldn't have shared with anybody before. And so being able to have this conversation with Joe then helps me begin to let go of what I've been holding bottled inside. And that is incredibly useful.
Yeah, and I think this really, the true storytelling is really what got me thinking of accountability, because it's kind of the same thing. You're telling your story. In the case of trading, we're trying to master an art, master some, you know, and it's like until you say it out loud and you have someone kind of push you on it and force you to talk about it more, there's really no other way that I found that you could actually do that. You know, I mean, you could write down notes, but you're gonna lie. You know, you're gonna lie to yourself when you say when it's impromptu. You say something, you're like, did I just say that? Oh, okay. I guess I just said that. You know, it's like.
Well, I really found that to be the truth. That I lie to myself constantly whenever I'm going to do something, and I get into a trade and I don't get out, and I swore that I was going to get out when it reached a certain point, but then it gets there and it's like, well, I still think it'll turn around, but no, you're absolutely right. That's true. I am curious. Do you guys do a trading journal? Do both of you do that? And has this helped with your trading journal, or is it just an extra something that you do personally? And does it add to the account of, to each of your being accountable to each other?
Go ahead, Tom.
So I'm on the not yet side. I've started and stopped and started and stopped, and I have kind of a mental list I'm building. And that's one of the things for me is I'm still going piece by piece, adopting methodologies that Ken puts out there for us. And so that's where I am, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big believer in journaling. I've been journaling for about 3 years now. I have I have three ways that I journal. Number one is I have a physical journal where I'll paste things on there, I'll write things, just a constant evolving journal. I have and that's just a physical journal. Then I have my trading journal, which is online through Evernote, where I'll put my annotated charts. And then I have a video journal where almost not quite every day, but maybe driving into work, I'll just do a video of myself. And again, just to kind of debrief of my thoughts. So to me, that's just, again, in an attempt to keep learning about myself, because I think that's what trading is all about. The more ways, and then looking, it's so interesting looking back, 3 months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago. It's just when Ken talks about it's the most important book, I mean, I take that seriously, just kind of just constantly looking for patterns and, oh, what was I writing? What was I thinking? What was I focused on? All right. Like, oh, now I see a flaw in that. Just what could I learn from that? Just constantly having that openness to learn, and just breaking down that ego and just getting the ego out of the way. And journaling to me it's so hard to get started, but once you start, because I also was entertaining it for years. Oh, well, I get it sounds like it will be good, but I don't need to do it, right? But now I do it, and I mean, it's that's my go-to. And I have multiple ways of doing it. Yeah.
I am curious about how you feel about just being, because you're a group of two, and is that after having done it that way, have you ever thought about expanding it, or what do you think? Is it better to keep it super small, or do you think there's any value of having 3 or 5 people or even more? The reason why I ask, it seems in trying to research this a little bit, because my personal bias has been that I'm scared of accountability partners. And so I thought, well, would I feel if I were to join a group of maybe 10 or even 5? That way, if I didn't come prepared, then I can count on somebody else, but with the being 2 people, once you guys get together, you really have to, and maybe that's the value, is that you have to be on your game, and you can't slack off because the other person's counting on you no matter what. So, but I've wondered if there is value in having more people and so instead of accountability partner, it's an accountability grouping.
What do you think, Tom?
Well, I have a couple of different thoughts. One, 2 has really worked for us. So I know that works. I also know or I've heard, so thus I've heard, I don't know, that that there have been a couple other groups in the community that have been three people doing accountability partnership. Ken knows who they are, so he'd be better able to answer. I'd just be hypothesizing. I also think once you get above 3 or 4, it gets hard for scheduling logistically. It also gets hard for each person to get enough airtime, because Joe and I can spend an hour easily at times. And so you just start making it smaller and smaller chunks. The third thought I have is knowing that I'm meeting with Joe causes me to start thinking about, well, what is it I'm going to bring to this conversation? Now, I don't have to have a lot prepared. What I can do is say, well, what am I struggling with? What's my learning edge right now? How many times this month have I given up more than a 1 hour loss? How many times this month have I allowed a significant gain to give back more than 1 hour? So I can ask myself simple questions, because those are things I'm striving to do differently. And then I can bring that in and say, well, and Joe will say, well, what was going on? What was the mind track? What were you saying about what was happening with the market versus what you were thinking about the market? And then we're into the, okay, how am I making something up, my own fictional narrative versus being with what's happening?
Yeah, I don't have any experience with more than 2. And I think I would agree with what Tom said. I don't know, but it seems like when you're meeting one-on-one, I mean, and more for what I'm getting out of it, being there for Tom, right? So it's like, I know I have to show up because he may need me. And sometimes I'm in a bad mood. I don't want to show up. I'd be like, you know what? Well, that's not nice if I do that. So that in and of itself could get me over the hump. So I just think that, yeah, I mean, two's worked. I don't see why 3 wouldn't work, but I think there's definitely a point where now you're just a bystander, and you could kind of, now the whole point of it, I think, is going to be diluted at some number.
Absolutely. No, I saw something where they were talking about a group of 15 or 20, and I thought, whoa,
Yeah.
that's a crowd. Because I guess I had seen there was something, Hugh Kimura, something called Trading Heroes. I had seen that online. And there were just several, and I think some people probably are trying to start trading groups, to make money on the side or something. It's like, I'll be your coach and you'll pay me so much money to be your coach. And so it's really been an interesting journey for me, just looking into it. I'm not as resistant to it as I was, but I really do see the value. The commitment seems like that's a major thing. If you're not committed, then what's the point? You're wasting your time, you're wasting the other person's time. And so it's been an interesting journey for me looking into this. I'm curious
Well,
what you
I would just say, I think what Joe just said, I want to underline is, I'm showing up not just for me, I'm showing up for Joe. And he said that about me, but I think it's that level of commitment. Am I here? And much like our true storytelling circles, we show up to support everyone else in the circle, not just to tell our own story. And that has a very different feel to it.
Yep. And knowing, you mentioned, Ernie, as far as like groups and coaches and mentors. I mean, there's plenty of people you could pay to help you, but I think the finding a accountability partner, part of the power is that it's free and anyone could disengage at any time. So by definition, it has to be a two-way street of value. And I think that's what's so powerful, is that this is not, you know, mentor-client relationship where there's some biases there. Well, you know, the mentor is making money, and you know, it's a client-mentor relationship. When you have this type of situation, it has to be beneficial on both sides, right? Because if it's one side, if one person talked all the time, the other person would just stop showing up, you know. So it has to be two-sided. And I really think the key is that everyone's involved in different circles, is to find the right person, you know, and don't quit, because, you know, I probably went through, I don't know, more than 10 of people that I would start meeting with. Some wouldn't go past the first email. Some met a couple of times, and it's just finding the right person, I think, is everything, because it's no one has to be there, right? So it's just finding the right person, I think, is the most crucial thing. I think that's what people get stuck, is because, oh, well, everyone's the same. Well, not everyone's the same. Maybe 70% of the people are the same, but the 30% that are like-minded, and those are the people that you need to find.
And I'd say one of the things that helped me get to the place of wanting to reach out to, and engage with Joe in this was Ken inviting me to do Bar by Bars on his nightly podcast. And I did a few. I didn't do as many as some of the others in that time period, but that was really powerful. And boy, did I feel the heat of that too, of Ken just saying, okay, what are you going to do? What's your frame? Are you going to get in? At what place are you getting in? Going up or going down? And now what are you going to do? Are you going to stop and reverse here or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
So his being there and holding me in that space helped me realize, yeah, I need an accountability partner, and it's not just going to be Ken every night on the nightly podcast. So that made a big difference for me, and I would encourage anybody to just jump into that practice with one other person, just to experience it, even if you only do it one time.
Yeah.
Because it's a really powerful practice to go through, and Joe was beautiful at it when we were doing it earlier this year. He would say to me, okay, so the market just opened, what am I doing? Tell me what to do, tell me what your rules are. And so, okay, so it did this, so I'm in. Where's my stop? Oh, it's here. Okay, now we'll advance it next bar. And we could spend 45 minutes, and I was doing 10-minute bars. We could spend 45 minutes going through a day of 10-minute bars. And then the next time we'd flip, and we'd go to, Joe was trading 5-minute bars, I think, at that point. And so then we'd do what he was doing. And that was eye-opening, because it was like, wow, because I'd already traded the day. I had my markup. I could compare what did Joe do as I talked through with him to what I did, and what was different. That was immensely eye-opening. I was like, whoa. And that changed my performance significantly.
Yeah. And that's the thing, that the content, I think it's less important on what we were working on, just the fact that we were working on it, right? Like we went through, you know, the bar by bar, that helped obviously manage the trade and figure out what we were thinking about throughout the trade. And the bigger picture stuff helps that. But it's just, I think it's less, just like anything else. So people want the magic bullet of how to lose weight. Well, it's less important what the exact workout is. Just do the basic fundamentals, you know, eat right and exercise. Do that and regularly. It's kind of the same thing. Just show up regularly, and it's less important. What's discussed is what's discussed, and whatever comes up. I think that's the important thing is the consistency, just like anything else. I think the consistency is the important part.
How did you guys communicate? I mean, like when you were doing bar by bar, it's like that manageable risk box. I can't ever say it. Were you guys on the phone, or did you do it through the computer, through Zoom, or
Okay. just like this. We would share our charts, we share our screen through Zoom.
So did you do live trading together?
No, I don't think we ever did live trading. No.
Okay,
No.
just discussing it end of day or what
Yeah.
happened?
Yeah,
Excellent.
we both use, I forget, it's not Trading Station, but,
TC2000.
oh, thank you. Yeah.
Yes.
So we both use that. So we just use the backup version. We just back up to the beginning of the market open. Okay, which symbol are you trading today? Okay, well, we'll just do that, and what time frame, and then talk me through your rules.
Have you guys ever like traded the same symbol and then the next day see what you did and what you did the same and did differently? Or do you just do your own and discuss it that way? Or do you do both?
Yeah, we trade different markets. I don't think we've ever traded the same symbol from what I recall. I don't think so.
Yeah, and part of it is Joe is trading options, and I'm trading ETFs. My accounts are retirement accounts and don't have margin abilities, so I use the triple and triple long and triple short ETFs, and I mostly trade the triple Qs, kind of Russell 2000 and the Nasdaq, and I'm trading day wise. I'm also working to build in swing and the core monthly rebalancing, bit by bit. So that's where I am. And for me, it's like I'm getting more and more consistency because I'm working on my own psychology with Joe's help. And it's like, okay, so what's the psychology behind not just having a mechanical stop and exiting at a 0.2 position size loss, and just calling it, say, okay, out. Why am I allowing more than a 0.2? Or why is that occurring? And what's the psychology that leads me to do that? That's made huge change in my trading, just focusing on something like that. And then looking at, okay, well, it's not just that 0.2, it's when it goes up and it starts to come back. Why am I giving back more than 0.2? What's the rationale and the thinking? Just those two simple things have a significant change in how I feel. And I think the other piece we both said is, at some point, I know for me personally, I used to trade with a pretty strong sense of fear about loss and fear about missing out. And those still exist, but their strength is much diminished. And it used to be I didn't know how to have discipline and self-control in the market. And now I have that, and that reduces the fear, because I know I can get out, I can recover whatever the losses are by the wins I have, and that is just inverted my mindset from where I was.
Yeah, and I think the fundamental switch that we had at some point working together, it was pretty early, from the endless search of the holy grail that a lot of traders are on to the search of self-mastery. And I think that's the key, because they say, 90% of traders fail and whatever. And I think it has to do with, you could have one setup on one time frame and you can make money. That's not that hard. But yet we all know dozens and dozens of setups and we can't make money. And because the search of self-mastery is really where I think is where the difference is. And that's really the shift that once we shifted there, then we started looking and calling ourselves professional traders, is because that's what a professional trader does. A professional trader has setups, but it's the constant search of self-mastery. And we always joke about it, is because trading is the hardest part. In other words, self-mastery has to be so pristine in trading, but your other parts of your life get better immediately. Like when you're working on self-mastery, my relationship with my wife gets better. My relationship with my kids gets better. My business gets better because that stuff is less sensitive. So trading is actually the last thing to kind of to start working out. But when you work on self-mastery, there's so many, I'm addicted to it because it makes everything in my life better. So trading is just a byproduct, you know?
Yeah, and trading is both the last thing and the first thing to go out of whack when I get knocked
That's
off
right.
balance.
Yeah.
When I'm off balance, my
Yeah.
trading shows up really quickly
Absolutely.
as not good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's a good warning signal to say, oh, something's shifted in me. I'm off balance. How do I recenter, reground? What are the basic practices that I know make a difference? And how do I get back to practicing them again and again? And
Yeah.
those aren't the trade entry and the trade exit. Those come after my getting back to, am I breathing?
Yeah.
Or am I holding my breath? Am I open and curious to what could happen here? Am I willing to take small steps and not try to hit it out of the ballpark because of whatever story is in my mind? Am I just willing to engage with what's happening in the moment in a reasonable, simple way? And if I am, then I can go trade.
Excellent point. Just out of curiosity, what do you see the future being for your accountability partnership? Do you is there anything that you hope gets added or changed, or any goal that you see in the future for what you guys are doing?
Answer first. I'm trying to just in general not have any expectations with anything because it turns out that whenever I project forward, I'm completely wrong. So I have no expectations. I enjoy it. I love it. It could end next week or it could go on for 20 years. I'm open to both possibilities. We'll find out. And that's kind of my approach.
Yeah, I'm with Joe. It's I love our conversations. Whenever we decide that we're ending, I will miss them, and I know we'll be ending because it's the right thing for both of us. And that ending could be so far out in the future, I have no idea. Or as Joe said, could be next week. But I find it better, as he said, to just walk in and say, what's important today?
Yeah.
What could we do to help each other in this conversation?
Is there anything I should be asking you guys that I didn't, that the rest of the creativity group should know about?
Well, I do want to share this is that, like right now, I paused trading for a couple of weeks, and this is a perfect example of my trading was going off. And there was all the warning signs because the trading is the first indicator, right? That my life is off. And then it turned out that I was trying to resolve my issues through trading. Not a good idea. So it turned out that there was issues in the back. I wasn't doing then Tom was probing me. Well, I haven't been going for my walks. I haven't been doing my meditation. Okay. I haven't been doing my stuff that got me in the zero state. So, and then it turned out that I had to take a break from trading, and I'm in the resetting process right now. But now, so my learning lesson was, well, when I see those warning signs, pay attention and get back to the process. Don't use trading as a vehicle to fix the process. So again, it goes back again, same thing. Self-mastery, right? To me, when I'm in the zero state, trading is so easy. I show Tom my results. And I say, I don't even know. I can't even explain to you how I did this, but it seemed very intuitive. That's when I'm locked in. And when I'm not locked in, there's anxiety. I don't like it. There's fear. And yet I love trading. But when I'm not in the zero state, I hate trading because it makes it that uncomfortable. So again, I go back to self-mastery, and that's been the answer for me to go even in this current moment when I'm not trading successfully, I don't go back to studying charts. I go back to studying me. Right. So that's really something that I've learned. And there's always lessons to learn. Okay, what lesson did I learn this time? Well, the lesson I learned this time is that I was trading poorly for weeks, and I was making believe that, I actually canceled a couple. I didn't want to talk to him that time. So that happens too. It's not always pretty.
Well, I'd offer, money and my identity have been tightly intertwined. And the fact that I lost a lot of money led me to become a really harsh critic of me as a person, and get to this equation that losing money is a bad person, and thinking of myself in that light. And so then I would approach trading about, well, I got to make it back. Wrong way to go into trading. I can't make it back. What I can do is I can make money. And so learning to separate that and say, okay, those are the twinges of the guilt and the shame that I've piled on myself. And I need to separate those out and say, if I'm trading out of guilt or out of shame that I've placed on myself for past experiences in the market, that's going to really hold me back and lead me to making bad choices. So I needed to get to that level of depth to say, yes, those things happened. What am I doing with it now is more a better assessment of where I am today. So it's like Ken says with the stories, once you put them out there, they can disappear in the smoke of the ashes in his owl meditation. Once you write them down, once you put them out in the true story circle, they're off, free in the world. I don't have to hold them. So acknowledging every time those twinges of shame and guilt show up, and saying, okay, that happened, and that's in the past. And now what can I do now that I know is the professional trading? That makes a world of difference. And so I would do things like, well, I got to trade while I'm traveling or while I'm on vacation because I might miss the move that would get me back. And it's like, that would be the dumb stuff that I would do. So I couldn't have gotten to this level of understanding without these conversations of the last 18 months with Joe. So I'm in both gratitude and incredibly appreciative for the journey that he's helped me take in this process of getting to that level of understanding. So, and I really want to appreciate you, Ernie, for being willing to interview us to pull some of these things out, because I don't know that we would have gotten to this by ourselves. And you've helped us advance our conversation by interviewing us, is my feeling in this. Thank you.
Well, thank you guys, because I there's no way I could summarize this, for Sunday's creativity meeting. I think I appreciate you giving me permission to record it, and I sure hope this works out, because I think I will send it to Ken. And you guys are phenomenal. This turned out way better than I planned. Except for my name being wrong. It's my wife's name in there. But anyway, Ken will start calling me Linda in the future. But anyway, if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and send it to Ken. And I think that instead of me doing a presentation, I'm just going to say maybe he ought to just add it to the creativity lineup, because what you guys shared is, I'm just really grateful for it. So I think the creativity group should hear it as well. If you don't mind.
Yeah, I don't mind. And thank you, Ernie. And as Tom said, is that, selfishly, doing this helps me. You know, it helps just when you have an opportunity that someone's willing to listen and you're able to put out your thoughts and not have someone interrupt you and not have someone give you their opinion. There's not that many of those spaces available out there in the world that I have access to anyway. So whenever I'm asked to help in any way, you think I'm helping you, but you're actually helping me more than I'm helping you. So thank you.
You guys are great. Tom, I hope you're going to have a safe trip and everything. I was worried you weren't going to be able to make this, and it's like, oh man, he's not going to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Oh yeah, I love getting up early.
Oh man. That was one of the reasons why I retired, so I could sleep in.
No, I'll just go to bed earlier when I retire.
Good point. Well, thank you, gentlemen. I'm going to go ahead and stop this thing, and